No.
Welcome to the My Haunt Life podcast.
Hello and welcome to the My Haunt Life podcast. I'm Mike.
And I'm Russell.
And we are here to bring you more goodness of things that we have done to share and spread the word of haunted theater alike in the Los Angeles area.
And holy crap, there's a bunch.
Oh, yeah.
We've done so much stuff. This has been a really fun season, Mike. I'm having a blast.
Yeah, this past week, I mean, we were double dipping.
Yes.
We were going from one show to the next This on Saturday and Sunday, I did 3 different things, like each day.
Actually, I did, but in a different city.
Ooh.
We'll get to that later. But first of all, what are we going to talk about? I mean, we did return to one of our favorites.
Yes, we went to Motel 6 Feet Under again. And we were able to do the behind-the-scenes tour. And the behind-the-scenes tour includes a photo op with Mabel. And we got to scare people.
Which was really fun.
And not only did we scare people, we were able to scare the guys from Sinister Point. Like, talk about perfect timing.
Yes, they were there on their night off to have some fun. So we get to have some fun, too.
The cool thing about Motel 6 Feet Under is they were still adding new things. So this is the 3rd time this season that we've been there. And they were still adding new things. So it was still a bit different each time we went, which was really cool.
We've talked about Motel 6 Feet Under. They're not actor-heavy specifically. They do a lot of visual and animatronic stuff. They added some really, really cool animatronics that, especially, I would say, in the second half of the maze, amped up a few scares really well.
Oh, definitely.
And they come from all angles, which I love in a haunt. The fact that you're really surprised sometimes by the direction that the scare is coming from. So yeah, like Motel 6 Feet Under is definitely like improving all the time. They keep adding stuff. Like we just love that haunt.
Yeah, and if we haven't convinced you yet, I mean, I don't know what else we can possibly do or say at this point, except maybe...
Oh wait, Mike, I know what we can do.
What, Russell?
Just go look at what this is being said about them on social media these days. I love the fact that they are getting such positive reviews on social media.
Yeah, that's true. All the reviews I've read from other websites and podcasts, they all love them as much as we do.
Yeah.
It's well-deserved.
Yeah, and I think, I mentioned this, I don't know when, on an earlier podcast, as somebody had approached me earlier this haunt season, Mike, and said that they really missed basic haunts. And I don't mean basic in a bad way.
Right.
But old-fashioned vibe, like you've called a couple of things like they feel like you're at a fair or something. Mm-hmm. Motel 6 Feet Under I don't think has that kind of vibe, but they do have this old school thing about them, this feeling of back when you were a kid. It just makes you feel like a kid going through a haunt. And I think that's what the reason people are so positively responding is they're not aggressive and depressing the way some more extreme stuff is. And look, you know I like that stuff.
Right.
But Motel 6 Feet Under is just, silly, happy haunting.
Yeah, there's no blood, there's no gore, there's no chainsaws.
There are spiders, though.
There's no zombies.
There's spiders. There's
enough. A spider.
There's multiple spiders.
Okay, Russell.
There are. I saw them. Really.
Anyways.
I don't like spiders.
So Motel 6 Feet Under is one of the haunts that's running longer into the season. So if you're missing out, you can still go because they're running into November, into that first weekend in November. We're probably going to go back for one last time until we see them again next year. And like we mentioned earlier, they do have another ticket available where you can get a behind-the-scenes tour and a chance to scare people. And they give you a souvenir mask to take home, which is really cool.
Which, to talk a little bit about that, we basically behind the scenes of a haunt, if you've never experienced that, one of the things that they focus on the tour is they let you know all of the things that are in place, like safety, how things are accessed while the haunt is up and running, which for people who don't work in the haunt industry, that's really cool information. And, if I say, they talk about safety and that sounds boring, it's actually not. Because when you get behind the scenes of a haunt and you see how things are laid out and how people get access to the haunt as patrons are going through it, you might be surprised. And actually, even though, Mike, you and I have both worked in haunts in various forms, you've done your home haunting, I've done various haunts, And they had something in there in one room where the visibility into the room was amazing, and it was a technique I'd never seen before in a haunt. I'd seen it used in theater plays before. It's basically a scrim section, which, if you have any theater background, if you know what I'm referring to, it's basically see-through cloth. So like that's the kind of things that you get to see when you go on this backstage tour of Motel 6 Feet Under. And the other thing that happened is, as Mike mentioned earlier, we very briefly got to scare a couple of people. And Mike, one of the things that I talked to about was, as they were placing us, we were being helped by a couple of different people at various times. They put us in a quick costume and gave us sort of a jump scare. And one of the things that dawned on me, Mike, is all of the haunting stuff I've done, I don't do jump scares.
I could tell.
Oh, come on.
No, and I don't mean that well, I do mean that in a bad way, but
you're being harsh.
No. Like it's just a general observation. Like you can tell people that have experience with jump scares because there's certain things they do or they don't do or say or they don't say kind of thing. That's what I mean. Like it's not anything negative. I'm just, you said it, I'm agreeing.
Yeah.
We don't agree often. So
So about the third time I got it. It was like my first one was really rough. The second time was better. The third time I actually really scared somebody. It was like, oh, okay, my timing was better. But what I realized, and I was talking to the staff of Motel 6 Feet Under, I'm always the guy who does like the lurk scare. Always in haunts, I'm the guy who you are right next to when he reveals himself. That's always been the type of scare that I've done.
That's like a real life scare too.
Thanks. A couple of the scares I've done, and they involve me lying in wait until someone's very close. So that aggressive type jump scare, I realized as soon as I did it, like, wait, this is so awkward for me because it's not something I normally have done in a haunt. And the other thing is I usually play a character. I've always, in any haunt I've been in, I've either been a victim, I've been dismembered, I've done like things like that.
Yeah, just been dismembered.
I got stretched on a rack once. That was kind of cool.
But not for a haunt.
So, actually it was. And something I've never told you. I was a victim where somebody actually inserted a chainsaw into my chest, which was really cool.
I stopped listening after inserted into my...
Jeez. But anyway, back to Motel 6 Feet Under. So that was actually really kind of cool for me in the fact that it was a different kind of scare than I normally do. It wasn't character-based lying in wait. So, I really got something out of that. Just that experience was like, oh, wait, this is something I normally don't do. That's kind of cool.
And it's something that these independent haunts can afford to do. Like this year we did this with Coffin Creek. We mentioned that on the last podcast. And I don't remember other years of this kind of ticket being available. So it's really cool that, number one, they're trusting people that are buying this ticket to be able to do that and not cause any sort of ruckus inside.
And I will say in both situations, we were closely supervised.
Right. But the fact that you can allow people inside and see the inner workings is just a really cool gesture, because there are people that would want to see that and do want to see that. And maybe they can't work in a haunted house. Like we have our regular day jobs, and a lot of people don't have that opportunity to work or volunteer into haunts in October because of the same reason. So it's really cool that this is available, and I'd really love to see this happen more.
And I love the fact that I think that this will also be inspirational to some people, just to see that, oh, the nuts and bolts are like this. It's not magic.
Oh, definitely.
It's fun and it's technique.
Well, and that's the thing. Nobody knows everything. So you may have your own haunt and going through that, and you could see something like, wow, that is a really good idea. I'm going to use that in mine.
And actually, that actually happened to me with Motel 6 Feet Under, in the fact that they use a floor plan and layout, which is I don't know, fairly common, I think. But the last time I worked a haunt was last year with Evil Twin Studios. We used a different access route. So it was really interesting to see how theirs operated. We did something very, very different, and yet they're both very effective. So yeah, exactly what you just said. It really was interesting for me to learn how somebody else was doing it.
Yeah. So other haunts that are listening, you should do this, or you should consider doing it. I know places like Knott's and Universal probably won't do that for many, many reasons. But Yeah, I think this is a cool thing to do to get people more involved. And
Yeah.
it's a story for that people are going to be telling no matter when. Like they're going to have Christmas dinner with their families in Nebraska and be like, "Oh my God, in October I got to work in this haunt called Coffin Creek or Motel 6 Feet Under." And then people in Nebraska are going to know about it.
Yeah, it's very cool.
So for more information on Motel 6 Feet Under, you can find them on the web at motel6feetunder.org. On Facebook, look up Motel 6 Feet Under. On Instagram, Motel 6 FU, Russell. And on Twitter, Motel 6 FU. And in all of these, it's the number 6. It's not spelled out 6. So after Motel 6 Feet Under, you've done something for the second time that I haven't done for the second time yet.
That's very true.
And that is...
The tension experience.
Dun, dun, dun.
Wait, do you want to put the real one in?
Yeah, on top of that.
Oh, okay.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, I went back to the tension experience, and Mike has not done this yet, so I am absolutely going to keep my mouth shut.
Oh, that's great for a podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, great review, Russell.
All right, we're done.
This makes me want to go back for the second time based on your review right now.
We're starting to see online several people who have gone back to the tension experience Ascension. And I have to be very careful because I don't want to spoil anything for you, Mike. But I will say, we've talked a few times privately, and you have voiced a couple of theories about a return trip. And I've deliberately not responded. And all I will say is this is what was so cool about my second time through. Because of the nature of the experience, there's a couple of sequences that you have to basically experience each time you go through. It sort of sets up the story of the night that you go. And so those are repeated. Almost everything else was brand new to me. They twisted a plot point in a way that absolutely blindsided me. And to the point where, if you have heard us talking about Ascension, you know that it's interactive. There are times when you are asked questions. There are times when you are given instructions. About midway through, Mike, I was so stunned, I actually found myself not able to speak anymore.
Wow.
And literally, they had to prompt me a couple of times, like, no, we need an answer from you, really, because I literally just felt like my jaw was hanging open the entire time. I cannot believe this is happening. I just can't believe this is happening.
Wow.
And I really want you to go through, because I also know that a couple people who've gone through have gotten different versions of what I got. So I'm really anxious to see what you experience when you go back. This cast is amazing. I just want to gush. It's just like for them to literally completely transform the experience, and I mean on multiple levels, and I really can't say much more than that. I saw rooms I had never seen before this time. The rooms that I did see again were completely changed. I was made to feel very, very uncomfortable, much more uncomfortable than the first time I went through.
Oh, great.
And, and that's not a criticism. Please don't hear that as a criticism. They really did push some buttons.
Oh, no, and I was saying great sarcastically.
Oh.
Because, yeah, great.
So, and when do you go? Again, this is an event which just surprises me at every turn. And maybe that's the best compliment, is everything you deal with in Ascension, in the tension experience, is a constant surprise. And I wish I could talk more about it, because there actually is one aspect of it that, oh wow, I don't know how to describe this. There's an aspect of the story for me now where I truly do feel lost, which is fine. I don't mind feeling lost, but there's a little bit of sadness attached to it. And the fact that I felt that so heavily at the end of the evening, and that's why I stopped talking, I think, during the second half of the show. I became very quiet because I was really mulling over what they were revealing and what they were asking of me. So it was a very, very interesting experience, and I look forward to hearing what you experience on your second trek through.
Interesting. So, and obviously don't answer this if it's a spoiler in any way, but I don't think it will be, but
Okay.
Who knows. But did you get to meet the two people that you wanted to meet again?
One of them, no.
Okay.
This won't be a spoiler for you. One of them, I was very aware of his presence during one sequence. And I think it was deliberate, perhaps. The fact that they placed him close to me, and they placed him where I very obviously, and I looked him right in the eye a couple of times during that scene.
He only had one eye?
So, no, he had two.
Okay.
So, yeah, that scene, yeah, but you know, but no, the other guy I did not encounter. And I will say this, I don't think there was a reason for me to encounter him, Mike. Snicker, snicker, snicker.
See? Team Snickers.
No.
Yep, you just said it. You just said it right now. Do not edit that out.
So anyway, yes, my second time through Ascension was so worth going back. Because, okay, look, I've been saying for freaking months that this is one of the most ambitious things that Los Angeles has seen in the theater scene, in the haunt scene, whatever you want to consider this in your own mind. My second time through proved that to me. They are so ambitious. They are trying something so incredibly unique. Hats off to them.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
And,
it's so impressive.
and I mean, it seems like people are feeling the same way as you because they extended it a couple weeks now. So they're going into November, and I think this past weekend they said 7 sold out weekends in a row.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, you know, and my second time through, I will say this, Mike, I was actually a little disappointed in one thing. There was a sequence that I wanted to repeat, and I didn't get to repeat it.
Huh. Okay.
I will say that. There was something I was really looking forward to, and I didn't get a chance to repeat it. There was a very specific reason why, too.
Okay.
So they justified why they weren't going to let me do it again, but I really wanted to. I loved it the first time. It was like I was so excited, and I was like, oh wait, I don't get to go over there. Okay. So yeah, but I loved Ascension the second time. But again, I think it was more emotional than the first time for me.
That's what everyone is saying. I was having conversations with people that had gone twice, and when they knew you were going, they would talk to me and be like, I think Russell's screwed because this was so emotional for me. And it's like, okay.
There's when literally I just got a chill down my spine.
Wow.
Because there is a moment in my second time through in the middle of it where all I can say is thank you to Tension for making me feel so deeply moved. And they touched my heart.
Wow.
They really did. They went hardcore on me, you know, emotionally. And that was pretty damn awesome.
That's cool, man. Can't wait to go back.
I can't wait for you to go back.
I'm sure they can't wait for me to go back either.
And if you would like to learn more about the Tension Experience, look them up on the web at thetensionexperience.com, on Facebook at The Tension Experience, on Instagram at _tension_experience, and on Twitter at _tension_exp. And definitely highly recommend checking Ascension out. Multiple times.
And then we got mail.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, the new box of Dread came. And it was so exciting.
Yeah, this came when I was out of town, so I literally just opened it with Mike a moment ago.
Yeah, so what do you think?
It's pretty damn cool. We have a little crow, an Eric Draven action figure. We have a DVD from...
It's a reaction figure.
It's a reaction figure? Pardon me.
And it's on an unpunched card. So for you collector nerds, that makes all the difference in the world.
That is true. We have an Atmosphere Effects Night Stalkers DVD.
Which is awesome for me because I have actually quite a few of the Atmosphere Effects DVDs. Because when they're the things that you can shine on a window, if you put a a sheet up or something, and it looks like zombies are walking past your window and ghosts and stuff like that. So I have quite a few of those, and these go for between like $20 and $30. So having that in there, like right there, that pays for the box. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, I was really surprised when I opened and saw that. Also, we've got, this was an Ash versus Evil Dead theme a little bit. We have an Ash for President pin, which is kind of cool.
I wish. I want to live in a world where Ash is president.
That would be awesome. And then a little can cozy for your soft drinks or beverage of choice. And this was the thing, Mike, that just really, really, this is so cool. A special Box of Dread Army of Darkness comic book.
And it's signed by Anthony Marquez.
With a certificate of authenticity in the back.
And for all you comic nerds listening, it's bagged and boarded. So no need to worry.
This was fun. This is something pleasant to come home to after a weekend away.
Yeah, it was a good mail day when that came in for me, because just opening it up, I mean, who doesn't love Ash? And like that's the theme, and Ash versus Evil Dead is on Stars, and he's just amazing. And having that and having the signed comic, and that's 2 months in a row of a signed comic, which is awesome. And the enamel pin, it's so great. And for more information on the Box of Dread, you can find them on the web at boxofdread.com, on Facebook, Box of Dread, and on Instagram and Twitter, Box of Dread. And then the next thing we've done is a play called Screamers. And this was one we mentioned a couple podcasts ago that was starting up. And this is the description. Bloody Mary, Bigfoot, Killer Clowns, Slender Man, legends abound in our modern society that continue to be a favorite storytelling device for people of all ages. These stories adapt and evolve over time, and in a world where anything can be transmitted in an instant via the internet, they have only gotten stronger and continue to reach new audiences in many different cultures. But the line between truth and legend can sometimes blur, and figuring out the distinction between what is real and what is just a well-crafted story can be difficult. How do you know where the legend ends and the truth begins?
You made me aware of this, Mike. This was not on my radar at all until you pointed it out to me. And I love the description, and there's some really interesting stuff going on. This play, we were opening night, correct?
Yes.
All right, so opening night theater in Los Angeles, small theater. There were a couple of moments of clunkiness, which were obviously just the cast dealing with the new space. It's not a criticism of the show. It's one of those things that it's in a very, very tiny theater, and some of the set changes were a little clunky, but it just slowed the pace down a little bit. Once they get that fine-tuned, I think the pace will be great. It's a really interesting show. First of all, really ambitious by just the number of people in this cast.
Oh, yeah.
It's a really large cast. The basic plot of this sort of hinges on a investigative reporter who finds himself being drawn to urban legends and myths based on the fact that he read about a missing girl one night when he was cruising around the internet. And it just opened this can of worms for him. As he started to investigate, he kept coming across urban legend sort of stories. And the missing girl was a fan of urban legends and loved investigating them and going, what do they call it? Legend tripping.
Yeah.
Which I had never heard of. I think that's a device for this play, but it's awesome. The idea of going someplace that might be haunted and telling ghost stories to your friends.
I mean, I've done this all my life.
Yeah, well,
we just never called it that.
Yeah, we never called it that.
The kids these days and these terminology.
But the first thing I thought of is, sneaking into cemeteries and things like that, which, we've all done, right? Right?
No, that's illegal.
Okay. No, none of us have done that. But I mean, it sounds like the kind of place you'd do this kind of thing. Here's the interesting thing for me, Mike. The fact that he was telling sort of this crime story, and the urban legends became part of it. Because I think so many people think like, oh, that's just fiction. Oh, that's just fiction. And the idea that this story is trying to take the point of, even if it's fiction, it might influence reality. I mean, that's interesting stuff.
Yeah, it definitely is. And for me, I have a problem. And I know that's an understatement. Go ahead and laugh.
I'm not saying a word.
No, you're just sipping a soda right now. Don't spit it out. But I'm not super into theater like you are. So the theater I do pick and choose is usually very immersive, or it has a theme of something creepy and spooky, like urban legends. So when I go into something like this, that's all I have in my mind. So in my mind, it was like, okay, this is going to be a play about urban legends. This is going to be awesome. And it wasn't really. And one of two things can happen. I can either love it because it wasn't and it just totally changed my mind, or I can just hate it because I just can't get that aspect out of my head. I really liked this. And I liked it because of the different facets of all of the things I do enjoy. You know, there is an urban legend aspect. There is a missing girl aspect. I mean, that made me sound super creepy, and I didn't mean it like that. But, like, you know, that's the same reason I watched the Discovery ID channel, because of watching missing, like, stories about missing people and how they turned up and all of that, and kidnappings. You know, there's a true crime element to this.
Yes, there is.
There's so many different elements that go into this, and it was so cool to see it all unravel and then get tidied up at the very end. Because honestly, for a lot of this, I kind of got lost. And then when the ending happened, it was like, oh, okay. Because at one point, I was like, wait a minute, are they in a cult now? Like, where are they going? And then further down the road, you understand what that scene meant.
Right.
And that's when that ending happened, everything just clicked and fell into place for me. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is really, really cool.
Yeah, there's so many ideas at play here, and the thing that I liked is kind of interspersing through the show. There's sort of a, you know, for lack of a better term, Greek chorus element.
Yeah.
And the information and the tone set by that group was so creepy, and yet you know what they're giving the audience is real. They're actually citing statistics, and they're actually citing information. So they're presenting that aspect of the true crime story as valid and real. And then you introduce the urban mythology into aspects of that crime story and the disappearance of the girl. There's, like you said, there's a lot going on here.
The one thing that I noticed right at the beginning, I think all of us noticed just because we're haunt people, there's a prop, and I'm using that in quotation marks, that you may or may not notice. And if you do notice it, you may or may not realize what that actually is. And kudos to that prop, because being able to do what he did for 2 hours, basically, like, wow, that takes some patience and stamina and skill to do that.
Yeah, there is a very, very creepy visual in this show.
And that creepy visual does come into play at a certain point.
Which is, I think, one of my favorite aspects of the whole show. And again, this is like one of those moments where you don't want to be too spoilery, but I will say that the idea that the presence of mythology, the presence of a story, even if it's a ghost story, even if it's something that kids tell each other to scare each other in the middle of the night, that can be a source of comfort in a time of need. You know, that idea that fear can actually be useful, fear can actually calm us down if used correctly. That was the aspect of the play for me that was, I think, the most interesting.
Yeah, the more and more I think about this, the more and more I realize, like, I'm just digesting it more. There's a lot of creepy things in this. So this was written, directed, and produced by Ben Cox. And Ben was gracious enough to give us some of his time, and we have him on the phone. So Ben, thank you for joining us. And could you tell us a little bit about Screamers and how you came up with it?
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you guys for having me. And yeah, Screamers it's a stage production that I wrote, directed, and produced. I actually came up with the idea initially several years ago about doing a stage play inspired by urban legends from different world cultures. And I kind of developed it for a while, wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do with the idea, and then early this year came up with the plot line. And it's basically about a journalist who writes sort of news of the weird, weird news that happens around the world. He writes a column for a local newspaper, and he kind of gets obsessed with these stories, like the classic, Hookman killer or, killer clown. Just right now, I don't know if you guys have been reading about the clown sightings that people, people are freaking out about. And, that idea of a legend of, a creepy clown, how it kind of takes on a life of its own. You start wondering, okay, how much of this is real? How much of this is imagined? What's the meaning behind all this? He starts to become obsessed with these types of stories and think that there's some sort of deeper meaning and deeper connection to them. And he reaches out to the father of this missing teenage girl who goes missing, and he asks, look, I can help you try to find her. The cops can't do anything. They think it's a cold case, but maybe I know something, more than they do, and can find some clues. And that's basically the jumping off point for the play. I mean, there's a lot of different elements to it. It's very, very different from, I think, a lot of standard theater you'll see in LA, and but it's really good for the Halloween season. It's something different from your standard Halloween mazes and stuff. It's more of a psychological thriller than a straight horror play, but it's definitely inspired by horror elements, and it's been going very well.
And this was your opening weekend, correct?
It is. We opened on Friday. We run for 2 more weekends, so it's been going well. Yesterday was actually our biggest crowd so far. People seem to be really responding well to it.
That's so good to hear. It's definitely the perfect time for it. Now, are you personally into horror? Is that where a lot of this came from?
I am. I love horror cinema. I actually worked at Universal's Halloween Horror Nights for 5 years as a performer there, and I just love the genre. I mean, it's one of those genres that there's a lot of bad horror, but when you find those good gems, it's amazing. And I just felt like, because I have both a theater and a film background, that there was a lack of that style of theater going on. You see a lot of theater, it's either revivals of Shakespeare or it's musicals, or especially in LA, it's like rom-com drama about 2 messed up people meeting in a coffee shop and finding romance, which are all well and good, but I was like, let's bring something new to the table for people to see. So that's kind of where I got the idea.
Cool. And one of the things that I talked to Russell about is, you got the hook. You got the hook in me, from the Hookman, I guess. Because I'm such a fan of urban legends and all of those stories. So when I read the description, I was like, oh my God, it's going to be something about urban legends. I'm so in. But it kind of wasn't. But that didn't matter to me because the story was really good, and the way the ending played out was such a trip for me. It was such a twist ending, and it had everything else come together. So, well done on that.
Excellent. Well, thank you. I'm glad you liked the ending. There's so many moving parts to this show and so many different storylines. I was hoping that it all came together. It's very interesting to see people's responses, kind of what they took from it.
Well, congratulations on an ambitious show. And Mike and I have already commented on the podcast a little bit, talking before we called you for this interview. One of the things I pointed to is it's actually a very large cast, which surprised me. And the whole Greek...
There are 12 people on the show.
Wow. The Greek chorus sort of aspect that you play off of, it's a great tone setter for several different points in the play, and each time they appear, things seem to get darker and creepier. That information, the statistics you use, are those research? Those are valid statistics, aren't they?
Those are actual facts, yes, actual statistics on missing persons that I researched on several different databases. And I think the missing persons, like the national database, they keep track of like all the different cases, how many are resolved, what kind of case it was. So every one of those facts are legit and up to date.
And the way they're presented in the show, and then when you add to it what the ending becomes, it's really chilling knowing that those factual events are out there. And one of the things I also said to Mike, I really enjoyed the idea at the end that the urban legends actually do influence our reality, whether we want to admit that or not.
Yes, definitely. I think the thing about urban legends, because I did a lot of research on just, mythology and folklore and the history of urban legends and how basically they're very much a modern form of folklore and storytelling and how they perpetuate in society and in cultures. And to me, I feel like what certain societies really respond to are a reflection of that own culture spheres. Like if you look what's popular in America versus, Japanese legends or Hispanic-oriented legends, they're very ingrained with that culture's natural spheres, which is a very interesting reflection of kind of how we respond to our environment, our lives, our escapism, and just using that as a storytelling vehicle.
One of the things that always irks me about things like this and movies and TV shows is that when they portray a teenage cast, they're usually people in their 30s and 40s, but your cast is actually young. I mean, the character Samantha, played by Isabella Albert, is an actual teenager in high school still. And can you? She
literally turned 18 about 2 weeks ago.
Wow. Now, how did all of that happen?
It's interestingly enough, I actually cast this show beginning of the summer, and we actually workshopped over the summer and started direct rehearsals, I think early August. And I agree with you. Especially, you see a lot of things where it's like that person's 35 trying to play 18, and it just takes you out of it sometimes. And I really wanted as much legitimacy and honesty in the performances and the characters as possible. And I managed to find great people. It's been a great cast to work with. They work very well together, and we have a lot of fun creating this madhouse of a piece. But it's been great.
And also, one thing I want to compliment you on, Mike pointed to the young cast. Another thing which you did in this show, which the teenagers actually have rough edges. They're sexually active. Yeah. They're at times possibly breaking the law. They're doing stupid things, making bad decisions. And in the interactions with adults, they sometimes don't do the most obvious thing that should have been done. So that's actually refreshing, and I think it's a very good thing. It helps sell the believability of the true crime aspect, is the way Mike put it earlier, of the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, you didn't.
Yeah, it's true. I'm very, because I think the more realistic you portray, obviously characters in general, but especially teenagers in today's, what is it, 2016, you have to own up to the fact that they're going to get in trouble, and they're going to do things that, aren't always the right choice. But that's the way, that's how we learn from our mistakes. That's how we grow. And I think the truth, I'm very big on truthfulness in character creation and truthfulness in performance. And I think it only serves the story to write characters that way.
The other aspect of the show, especially in the last third of it, that I found particularly intriguing for me, and I just want to know if how deliberate, and I was really intrigued by this in the fact that the urban legends, which you bring up throughout the entire show, and you're presenting the statistics and you're talking about them among the characters, the fact that in the end they almost become a comfort, they almost become useful in an extremely positive manner for one of the characters.
Yeah, I wanted to use the legends in a unique way as possible, which is why I think a lot of people, and it's exciting to me for people to finally get to see the production, is because I think a lot of people go in either not knowing what to expect, or they have a certain idea, like, oh, it's going to be a horror, scary play, blah blah blah. but there's so much more to that. And in using, particularly, I'll reference the character of the Tall Man, which is, inspired by the Slender Man legend. I wanted to take that idea and completely create a new mythology behind that character. Taking elements that we know about him, that he's in the shadows, he abducts children, he's always there but not there, and basically the common, ideas about Slender Man. But I was like, what if that character is something completely different than what you think he is? Well, why does he really exist? What purpose does he serve in this story? And I think it's really exciting to kind of take a well-known idea and turn it on its head and give it new life.
I feel you actually added an element of sadness to that mythology.
Yeah, there's that dark tone of melancholy.
Actually, that's a better word for it. Definitely melancholy.
Yeah. And I think melancholy is very hard to achieve in art in general, but particularly in film and theater, because you're combining happiness and sadness at the same time. And when it's done well, it can be so powerful. And if we were able to achieve that in that thread of the story, then I thank you. I thank you for that. Thank you for noticing that.
That is definitely what I responded to most.
Awesome.
So this is going for the next 2 weekends. It ends November 6th. And
yes.
Where can people find more information about this?
More information, they can go. We have tickets on sale for all night, still available at screamers.brownpapertickets.com. We also have tickets on sale the night of each performance at the door. Of course, I always recommend buying in advance. That way you're guaranteed a seat. You can also find us. Actually, we have a write-up on HalloweenEveryNight.com. I believe we're on the featured page right now. There's an article up about that. And you can always find Trailblazer Productions. We have a page on Facebook, facebook.com/Trailblazer Productions, and that has all the updates and information on the show as well.
Perfect. And what's next for you after Screamers?
A lot of sleep. It was nice this week. I was like, wow, I actually can wake up and don't have to do anything right this second. I don't know. We'll see what the next project is. Right now I'm kind of enjoying the run of this show and seeing everyone get to respond and enjoy it. And then I'll probably take a little breather and see what the future holds. I always got something on the burner.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on the show opening. We really loved it a lot.
Thank you.
And thank you for your time, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much, guys. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks
Thank
again,
you.
man. So if you're looking for some creepy theater, definitely give this a chance. It's running through November 6th, 8 p.m. on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights, and it's at the Blank Second Stage Theater on Santa Monica Boulevard. And you can find tickets at screamers.brownpapertickets.com. And you have to leave right away after Screamers. Because you were going to go to do Devoted.
Are we
correct?
actually going to talk about this?
I think we should.
No.
No, we should. It's not your fault. So.
I know. Yeah, I was supposed to go see the final chapter of Devoted right after that show. And unfortunately, I was at a stoplight, and two cars behind me, someone rear-ended the car immediately behind me, and that car got pushed into me. And I just want to be clear that everything is okay, I'm okay, the car is okay. It was literally somebody just got pushed into my bumper mic, and I basically was a witness for the two cars that hit each other behind me. But I had to stay there and deal with it.
Ugh.
That's why I missed the ticket. But the thing was, I literally had 1 hour to get across town on a Friday night. So I, was looking at my watch going, there is no way I'm going to make Devoted. That was a horrible way to end that week.
So obviously you wish too, but I wish you could have gone so we could talk about it right now.
Yeah, believe me, I'm so jealous because unfortunately I'm already seeing pictures online from the show that people have gone through, and I'm so jealous.
I will say this, and I'll try to keep it spoiler free for you, but this has been my favorite one of the Devoted series. It's what they've done. They've upped the ante from their last show.
Wow.
Yeah, and you learn a lot about the past. I think that's what I can say.
Oh, that's interesting because I thought we'd learned a lot about the past last time.
You're in for a shock, buddy.
Oh, interesting.
And they just announced that they're extending this. And I know this is kind of a crappy review, and it's not even really a review, but I can't say anything because of Russell. But seriously, go see this. If you like true immersive, creepy horror theater, go see this show because it was so good to see, and you can see the progression with each show, and you can see the progression of Cara and how she just downward spirals into her life and into her brain, and you get emotional, you get the feels, and what happens will kind of blow your mind.
Wow, I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, I'm so glad I went to this because it was so great.
Yeah, I've liked all of them, and each one has become, my favorite as soon as I'm done with it. So I'm really looking forward to finally getting the final chapter.
Yeah. And the cool damn it, Russell.
It wasn't my fault.
I know, but still, there's an aspect of this show that was such an interesting and fun thing to do. And for the people that have done it, the very end, you know what I'm talking about, and to shine on, you know what I'm talking about. But that was such a cool thing, and I really, really like that. And it's something that you didn't have to do, but it just makes everything so much cooler, and it just adds like another aspect of what you're doing is different. And on top of that, I mean, you saw my Instagram post, so you know that
yes.
there's other things that happen, like pictures and stuff. So that aspect is cool too. They're just extra things that personalize it that they don't have to do, but they go above and beyond to do it. And it just sets it apart.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, you need to go.
I will.
Okay.
We're working on the dates now. We're working it out.
Cool. And like we said, it did get extended, so it's been sold out. So find your tickets at shineoncollective.com, on Facebook, The Shine On Collective, and on Twitter, Shine On Shows. Now, while you were getting in car accidents, I was heading in the other direction because I was finally able to do something that I've heard so much about that had such good reviews, and that is the Hamlet Mobile.
And I am so jealous of you.
We missed it at Indiecade. It was there, but much like all the other things, they got booked up super quick, so we weren't able to do it there. But this has been something that we've been hearing about since they debuted at Fringe in 2015.
And I keep hearing how great it is.
Yeah.
So, what did you think?
Well, hold on. You might be wondering what Hamlet Mobile is.
Oh, that's true. That's a good point.
So, for the people listening that don't know what it is, Hamlet Mobile is an immersive, site-specific adaptation of Shakespeare's Hamlet, staged in a cargo van. It consists of 8 different short pieces performed for audiences of 1 to 4 people. On a given night, the Hamlet Mobile parks in a predetermined location, then perform one of the 8 pieces on a loop for a 3-hour block. Hamlet Mobile is intimate, personal, and weird. It involves moving in and around the van. It involves physical and emotional contact between actor and audience. It loves and hates Hamlet.
Which, to me, that last line is the most interesting part of that description.
Yeah. This was great.
Cool.
I've done 3 of the 8 shows so far, just this past weekend.
Wow.
So the 3 I saw were Breakup Sex, wherein Hamlet and Ophelia have it out, Interior Kitchen Night, wherein we answer the question to be or not to be, and Crown Ambition Queen, wherein Claudius and Gertrude circle one another, the van, and the truth. And these got better and better for me. I started off on Friday night with Interior Kitchen Night, and it was cool. it was a one-on-one, well, kind of a one-on-one. It was a one-on-two show. There was a sleeping actor, and the actress basically did the to be or not to be soliloquy while eating ramen. But there's things like in there, like she offered me her noodles, and you know, my brain is like, should I have said yes? What if I took the noodles? Would something different have happened? You know, things like that. So,
but it was not to be.
Oh, jeez, Russell.
Sorry, I couldn't resist that. Okay, I agree with you. Ugh. Moving on.
Anyways, and then the next night, it was breakup sex, and that was for two people, and wow, that was really good and really emotional. Like you would like that one a lot, just
Cool.
because of the feelings involved.
You know I like the feelings.
I know, but it was so like, it's just so cool, like what happens and how they interact with you, and you start feeling for him, and you see an awkward relationship that just ended, like right in front of your eyes in the back of a van. And it's like, we've all been there. And then the one I did yesterday was Crown Ambition Queen. And that one, I want to try to do again because there's two different tracks.
Oh, wow.
So there was two audience members, but there's also two actors. And they split off, and it's one-on-one. And the cool thing is I got Claudius. And so I learned about him and his, how should I say this? I learned about him and what he tells people. That's what I'll say. Yeah, is really good. So those are 3 of the 8. I have tickets for 4 other ones. And apparently Family Feud is going to be more of a pop-up event, so you couldn't buy tickets to it. And one of the things they do is they give you a postcard, and they punch each time you go through one. So you can basically collect all of the different shorts.
Oh, wow. I'm so looking forward to this.
Did you get tickets yet?
No, I have not. I've been out of town, so I literally just got back. So literally just a couple hours ago, I just got back. So, but I'm jotting down the notes to myself of tomorrow morning, I must do this.
Yeah, basically everything I did this weekend without you, you need to go do because it's that good.
And we'll get to it, but I wish I want to say the same to you, even though it's halfway across the country.
Right.
We'll get to that.
So for more information on Hamlet Mobile, you can find them on the web at hamlet-mobile.com and on Twitter, Hamlet Mobile.
Now, you also went and saw other theater without me, Mike.
Yeah, how weird is that to say?
Am I influencing you? Are you branching out a little?
No.
Okay.
I've gone, like I said before, like I go to creepy theater things all the time. Well, not all the time, but all along.
Well, yeah, and I think the next couple of choices will bear that out.
Yep. So we started off by going to the Lizzie Borden musical.
I so want to hear about this.
Yeah, it's called Spindle City, the Lizzie Borden musical, and it was written by Katrina Wood. And as someone from Massachusetts, I loved this story so much. And once again, I said this about Screamers, but all I focused on was, okay, it's a play about Lizzie Borden. That means there's going to be murder and blood and everything. And there was not that at all. What it was basically the story behind the murders and how Lizzie Borden's father and stepmother treated her and the trial and how she became acquitted. Spoiler alert. It's like,
well, if you know the story, you know
yeah,
the story.
It was a joke. I'm like, that happened in the 1800s, so I think it's okay. But what we got we did get some murder, of course, because you can't have a Lizzie Borden musical without having a little murder. But it was more of a history lesson. And most of the stuff in the play was historically accurate. So they focused on the workers in the mill. They focused on her creepy uncle. They focused on her lesbian lover from New York. And, like all of these things came together. It wasn't just focused on the murder. And that was what made this so special.
This sounds utterly fascinating to me.
It really was. And on top of that, I don't know if they do this for every show. They had a Q&A after the show.
Oh, wow.
And that was just as good as the production, because you had the cast and they told you the stories about how they were researching and how they found out certain things. And you had the director or the writer who's from England, how she heard about it and became obsessed and talked about it and did all the research she could on everything. And it was so fascinating. And there are kids involved, and they're adorable. And one of the kids, you could tell how excited they were that people were excited that they were there. And it's just such a cool feeling. And someone said it in the crowd, they said it best, is your reaction makes me excited to be an actor. And it was just so cool seeing these little kids be so happy and stoked to be a part of this.
Oh, that's awesome.
And one thing I didn't mention, which I don't know how I didn't mention yet, but it was a musical, and the songs were amazing. There was one song in the second act that it felt like someone just punched me in the face, because the whole cast was singing at that one point, and it was so moving. And because most of the show, it was one or two people singing, but when you have such a big cast, all of them pouring their heart out into this song, it's such an incredible feeling.
Well, based on this, Mike, I definitely will try to make this.
Yeah, you really should. I think you would appreciate it, and especially just hearing the music and hearing them sing and seeing the acting and just all of it was just so good. I'm really excited to see what they do next. This is running through November 5th, so you don't have much time.
Wow.
Make it happen, Russell.
I will do my best.
And for more information on this, you can go to lizziebordenmusical.com. So the other thing I did was called Nosferatu, A Symphony in Terror. This is a description from the website. Now, F.W. Murnau's eerie take on the story of Dracula transitions to the stage at Crown City Theater, where its eerie atmosphere and breathtaking suspense come alive through music, dance, screen projections, special effects, and makeup. For all those who thrill to the chill of a shiver down the spine, this unusual and powerful Los Angeles production is for you. And they delivered.
Cool.
This, again, I figured, it's going to be something about Nosferatu, and it was. But what they did is they took a silent movie, brought it to the stage, and created a silent play.
Oh, really?
There was no talking. All there was it was like watching a silent film. They had a screen, and if there was supposed to be talking, they had that on the screen.
Oh, the titles.
Mm-hmm.
This sounds fascinating.
But everything else, it was like a ballet, and the characters would dance their interactions, and it was so hauntingly beautiful. And if I'm saying that about something, it's good, because I don't use adjectives like that in a row. I'll use hauntingly and I'll use beautiful, but never hauntingly beautiful. And there's no other way to describe it. It was so beautifully done. I was just watching this with my cheesy grin because of how cool it was.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's if someone were to describe this to me, it's oh yeah, you're watching a play about Nosferatu, no one talks. I probably wouldn't be interested, but this is something you really need to see, because it's so cool. What they're able to accomplish without talking. And they had the period makeup on, where the kind of makeup they would put on for silent film. So they had browns and blacks on their eyes and on their cheekbones and stuff like that. And you never get lost. This story is easy to follow, even though they're not talking. And the way they do certain things, like being on a horse and carriage ride. There's really cool things that they do, and it's that's so clever.
I'm going to ask a question, which it really isn't a spoiler, but what was the color palette like? Did they concentrate on grays and blacks and whites?
There was it was a lot of darker tones,
Right.
like the dull tones. So
Interesting.
like sepias and the blacks and grays and whites.
Yeah, many years ago, I saw a play in New York that was the entire production design and all of the costuming was done in black, white, and gray to give you the impression that you were watching a black and white film.
Yeah.
It was a thriller. It was like old creaky attic kind of thriller. So and it was very effective. So yeah, I'm really excited about this. I'm going to definitely try to make this.
And it's right across the street from Zombie Joe's.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, okay. You know where the Petco is, like on the corner of
Yeah.
like Lancashire and I think Camarillo?
Yeah.
It's on Camarillo next to the church.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
So I mean, if
It's kind of in my hood.
so if people are listening to this, you can go to this and then go to Zombie Joe's Urban Death. Or go to Zombie Joe's Urban Death and then go to this, depending on what time it's happening. But seriously, like, and I haven't even talked about Count Orlok yet. Mm-hmm. Count Orlok is so creepy, and it's so good. And Count Orlok is played by a woman, and
What?
it's the first time. I believe it's the first time that the Count is played by a woman, and she pulls it off. Like, everything is there. Everything that needs to be there is there. So
You have your goofy grin right now.
Oh, I can't help it. It was so good. Like, everyone in this thing is amazing.
Oh, wow, cool. Now I will absolutely do my damnedest to make it to this, definitely. I'm so glad that you had such a good time. This sounds amazing.
It really was. Like, I and like I said before, like, I'm not the theater person you are, but if more things like this happen, like, I would be the theater geek because this was that good. Like, just seeing the dancing between everyone and the choreography between when you had multiple people on stage and the ins and outs and directing your attention somewhere while they broke down over here. And it was so good. It's so well done.
Wow, cool. All right.
Yeah, so go.
I will do my best, sir.
Yeah, so what you want to do is go find them on the web at crowncitytheater.com or on Facebook, Crown City Theater Company. And also, Russell, these things that I've done without you, that sounds funny, but like these, like Lizzie Borden and Nosferatu, I got all of these things on Goldstar.
Oh, that's excellent.
You know, we had mentioned this previously on another podcast about doing some searching on Goldstar and Groupon and things like that. All of these were on Goldstar and they were comped. Like, all I
excellent.
had to do was pay for like the Goldstar service fee. So I got to see like a $40 show for like $8,
Oh, that's excellent.
which is incredible. So if anyone's listening to this, check Goldstar. If they don't have tickets, they're still worth it at full price if you can find them. Definitely check out Spindle City, the Lizzie Borden musical, and also Nosferatu if you get a chance. So that about wraps it up for this episode for the stuff we've done in LA. Now, stuff that we've done not in LA, that's a different story because, Russell, you went to Chicago.
I did.
And what we're going to do is we're going to break that out into its own podcast because I think that deserves it because you did a ton of stuff.
I did, wow. It was like one immersive theater piece, Haunt, which had some extreme elements in it. And I did 2 haunts and I did a museum, which I think listeners of this podcast might be very interested in.
Nice. Yeah, so we'll get to that on the next podcast. Cool?
Cool.
All right. And just want to give a quick shout out to Matrier on Twitter. He tweeted us and he went through the back episodes of the podcast and told us that he loved it. So thank you so much. And he told us a story in 144 characters or less about what got him first interested in haunted houses. And that's a really cool story. And it's funny because, you know, obviously Twitter has the character limit, but so he split it up into 5 different ones, but I'm glad he did because that's really cool. And the story is awesome too. So if any haunts want to look at that and use that, feel free to look at our Twitter at MyHauntLife. But thank you for tweeting us, and you've tweeted us a couple more times with other cool things like the raccoon paws and stuff like that. So thank you. We love seeing stuff like that. We don't have a lot of time sometimes to see things like that. So when you do tweet that stuff to us, we make sure we see it. So thank you again. another shout out goes out to Haley Lauren on Twitter because she wanted more My Haunt Life podcast and she was sad that she ran out of them. So thank you so much for listening and listening to them all where you got to a point where there weren't any more and you got sad over it. Like, that's awesome.
That's very touching.
It's not awesome that you got sad, but it's awesome that you listened to all the podcasts. I'm sorry that you got sad, though. But hopefully this one will make you not sad for at least another week or so.
And we have a couple coming up rapid fire.
Yeah. Boom, boom.
Ta. Ta? Ta. 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 Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you again. If you'd like to reach out to either one of us, you can contact us at mike@myhauntlife.com or russell@myhauntlife.com with 2 S's and 2 L's. Find us on the web at myhauntlife.com and on Twitter at myhauntlife and on Facebook at myhauntlife. And don't forget the calendar. It's still going strong. There's still a ton of stuff. There's a few haunts going into November, and you can find that at myhauntlife.com/calendar. So thank you for listening. I'm Mike.
And I'm Russell.
See ya.
That night?
I don't know. No one knows. They don't care.
No one knows. No one cares.
No.
Nobody really, Mike? Are you feeling lonely or something? What's
Nope.
going on?
I'm fine.